Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
Did we enjoy Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? How's the new season of Solo Leveling going? Did Cobra Kai finish strong? Are we feeling invincible as it continues its third season? We're going to be asking these questions and many more on tonight's episode of Systematic Geekology. We are the Priests of the Geeks for another What's New episode. Couldn't do it alone. I have three fine gentlemen here today. Evan Garcia, how's it going, Evan?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Christian. Glad to be on to talk all this. Loving it.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to this bad boy. Herbie, how's it going?
It's going well. I got to sleep last night, so I'm feeling good.
Nice.
Ooh, always good. And of course, the eternal reason for the season, why we continue doing this show, just so you can hear his voice. TJ Blackwell, how's it going, TJ?
Good.
Excellent. Same response every time. Gets me every time. Love it. All right, gentlemen, you know what? We're doing a What's New episode, and you know what that means. We have to start off with, a special lightning round. Who wants to take it away? Something small you've been geeking out on recently has just come out.
I've got a secret one. It's not technically out yet, and it's not media. It is the Chipotle honey chicken at Chipotle.
Whoa, spoilers, bro. Spoilers.
It's so
We're getting
good.
fresh industry
I
secrets.
hope it isn't spoiled chicken.
It's so good. It comes out Thursday. Man.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm going to tell my wife she's going to be happy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Perfect. Dragon Ball Daima just finished up. Had some highs, had some lows. I'd say overall, I enjoyed the ride. I wish Matthew was still here. Definitely would have done an episode with him on get his take on what was going down. But really enjoyed what they did with Daima overall.
Yeah, I like Daima. Is Daima canon or not? I've seen people say different things.
It's going to be hard to reconcile it.
Yeah, because if Daima's canon, what? I don't want to spoil anything.
There's some things that happen near the end that kind of make you go, well, why didn't that show up? Well, obviously because Daima wasn't written yet. So think an alternate universe most likely. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Toriyama was always well known for writing out every plot he had and always doing exactly what the plot was supposed to do. He never wrote week to week or anything like that.
Never, ever. But no, I really did enjoy Daima. Daima was great. As a young GT kid. Oh. I like Daima a lot.
Yeah. Anything new for you guys for the lightning round?
I found
nothing new.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
I say nothing new. I mean, I have been geeking out on some Skyrim recently. It's old, but I'm back to it.
Skyrim always feels new.
With the number of bugs it has, it definitely feels like a brand new game.
Evergreen. It's like, wow, that's never happened to me before.
Every time you play, you find a new bug.
It's a wonderful scenario. Evan?
Yes, I found something that for some reason Disney's trying to hide, and I just searched on online now, and it's gone. I'm like, dang it, because I fell asleep watching it. But it's the Tower of Terror movie that came out in the 90s, I think it was, and and I was very excited to watch it because I saw through some other Twitter post that it was up. And by the time I got to it the other day, I fell asleep while watching it. And I was like, oh, man. But now I check and it's gone. I'm like, no.
Why did they do that? Put all your content on there.
Right. There's some weird stuff about it. But yeah.
Disney's never been known for locking all their stuff in a vault and letting nobody see it for years at the time.
They're already paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now we've got that disappointment. I got one more thing. I did watch The Monkey, the newest horror film, kind of sort of based on a Stephen King short story. If you're going in expecting a horror flick, you're in for a bad time. It's a horror dark comedy. And if you can accept that, you're going to have a better time. Not a movie I would take small children to, but there you go. Now it's time to get into the meat and potatoes. Today we're discussing, we got 4 topics for you. We have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man to start off with. Guys, the show just came out on Disney Plus. Had some bad buzz at the beginning, had some lack of trailers and everything, and finally it released, and turns out they actually had an amazing show. So before we actually get into the show proper, now what's our history with Spider-Man as a character?
What a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a question.
We only have 20 minutes? Man, but Spider-Man, yeah. It's up there with my Nintendo. It's just things that always existed. It's like I have my Spider-Man toys, and I don't know. Yeah, I just always had a comic or the TV show on, or something, or I was drawing Spider-Man. So yeah,
Yeah, it is. I see Spider-Man as much as I see my dad. Like
I don't know what that means, but that's funny.
I see my dad a lot. I just also see Spider-Man all the time.
Okay.
I have the old Spider-Man theme song going through my head right now, so
nice.
I'm kind of right there with
you. Like it was, I'm 25.
Have you ever seen your dad and Spider-Man in the same room?
No, I haven't.
How can you be sure they're not the same person?
I don't know. I've seen, but like I'm 25, so like I was a kid when the Raimi movies were coming out. It's like saw those all the time. Got them on DVD. One of the first books I remember reading was like a little Leapfrog Spider-Man graphic novel with interactable speech bubbles.
Nice.
So,
okay.
What a question.
Yeah, it's for me, I've probably said it on the show before, but for anyone who's new, Spider-Man is my guy. There's a reason he's my avatar on the show. It's because I grew up with him. He is my hero, my number one. Marvel, DC, no one compares. I grew up watching a 90s animated show. My dad and I would watch it together. And then he would introduce me to the comics later on, to the original Amazing Spider-Man run, Marvel Team Up, which is still my favorite comic series to the day, not because of its quality, but because you got Spider-Man teaming up with other heroes, like one of the greatest things in the world to a kid. Then as time goes on, the Raimi movies came out, the Garfield movies, we got the Holland movies right here in the MCU, and we got the other movies crossing over with them too. Sorry, spoilers for something that happened a couple of years ago, but it's a kind of a Spider-Man renaissance in many ways outside of the comics where we have terrible editors and writers, but that's its own issue. Right here and now, this show came out. Who else has watched it besides me?
I have not gotten around to it, man. Yeah.
I haven't started it yet.
Oh, man.
Time is short. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hey, life's difficult and busy. There's only so much time to get stuff done. As I've said in the show before, I'm unmarried. I don't have children. I stay up way late, so I get to watch things way faster than other people. So I just have more time. And I'm glad I did because this show proved me wrong. I went into it thinking it was going to be garbage, that it was just going to be some MCU synergy nonsense, especially when there was a huge lack of trailers, a lack of what seemed like promotion for this show until like a couple of weeks before it actually started coming out. And then the first couple episodes dropped and I was hooked. They did a fantastic job of like, hey, we're taking inspiration from the MCU, but we're also making it our own thing, because they kind of realized as they were writing it, oh, well, if we stick too much to this, we can't have him in the MCU. There's got to be something different to it, especially with what happens. First episode, Peter's on his way to school with Aunt May, and a giant portal opens up. Doctor Strange and a symbiote come through, and he is bitten by a genetically enhanced spider. And it becomes a huge part of the show. Like, how did that happen? What's going on? How did he get his abilities? One thing I'm not big on is Uncle Ben has already died in this scenario. I'm not huge on that. I think that's a huge part of Peter's characterization is learning from that sacrifice, learning from Uncle Ben's death. But you know what? They're doing their own thing, so I'll cut them a little slack. And another thing they do is they introduce characters that don't exist in the MCU in the same way. We have Norman Osborn, who, if we go back to No Way Home, does not exist seemingly in the Marvel universe of the films. So him becoming the mentor for Peter instead of Tony Stark, great job what they do with him. I thoroughly enjoy like the mentor-mentee role they have with the way Norman twists the typical "with great power comes responsibility" speech to kind of make it more about power and respect. And Peter learning from that. Of course, his new friendship with Harry is well done here too. And we have Nico Minoru of the Runaways as Peter's kind of best friend, because since the incident
that's who that was. Cool.
Yeah. Since that incident occurs with the portal coming to Symbiont and Doctor Strange, the school is destroyed. So Peter has to go to a new high school, which is why he doesn't meet up with, Michelle Jones and Ned Leeds and everything.
Cool.
So it makes sense why he has no relationship to him in this, reality because of what happened there. Yeah.
I do want to say really quick, I really liked the Runaways show.
Yeah, same.
It was good.
It was a great show.
They did 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been 3.
Yeah, I remember really liking the first. I don't remember if I watched the second or not.
You should.
Oh, well.
It was solid.
That's why I'm currently compiling a list of everything I've ever watched or read, because I'm sick and tired of rewatching something and realizing halfway through it, oh no, I've already seen this before and I've just wasted 45 minutes.
I know that.
Well, if it takes you 45 minutes to realize you've seen it,
yeah, you needed to watch it.
Waste your 45 minutes.
Yeah,
well, that's because I'm old. And my early onset Alzheimer's is getting in the way.
Being old.
I will tell you, I'm old. I've been old since I was 5.
That was
I'm
the
10
thing.
Years older
with,
than you. Don't you tell me anything about being old.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead, Evan.
No, that was the benefit to that. I don't know. There was this kind of sketchy service called Popcorn Time a few years ago, and there was like a streamer, but for a pirate video, and it was just so convenient because it logged everything that you watched for you, and it did it automatically, and you could save it as a file or as a CSV, and then you could manipulate. Oh, it was so cool. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But I wish something like that could come to the mainstream almost,
Yeah. Yeah. What a gargantuan task, by the way.
Yeah, I'm 50 pages in, and I haven't even scratched the surface of everything I've ever watched or read.
50
I've been
it's mostly movies right now.
I've been thinking about starting my own letterbox thing, to keep track.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have an account, but I'm waiting to see if I can do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you guys have any questions about the show before we go on?
Is the art style consistent?
I'd say for the most part. When it first released, I was like, I don't know about this, but they won me over. They kind of Stockholm me like My Hero does.
Yeah.
I'm still not big on My Hero's art, but it's the thing now, so I just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
But the animation's pretty fluid. The character work they do is pretty good. The villains they introduced are really done well. We've got, Norman, who is still not a villain yet, but he's still acting in a villainous mentor kind of role. We've got Dr. Octopus, who they still haven't fought yet, but there's enough there to build up for what's to come. We've got some classic foes. We meet pre-villains before they become the Chameleon and Rhino, and some other villains as well. Wasn't expecting. I think they did a really good job here.
I saw some memes of the classic Doctor Strange too. I was like, cool, and he looked really nice in that style. I was like, right, cool.
Yeah, he shows up in 2 episodes, the pilot and the finale, and they do a phenomenal job with him.
Cool.
Because they play around with time a little bit in a very fun way. They really play with Peter's wanting to be a scientist and how that affects things as he kind of Norman learns who he is and becomes, like I said, that mentor. He becomes an intern at Oscorp. Really well done. There's some things with shenanigans of characters showing up before they're supposed to actually be there, but once again, they're doing their own thing. So I cut a little grace their way.
Cool.
All right. Okay. So I'm sure I'm not the only one who heard this. And honestly, shouldn't say I'm surprised knowing people, but as much as it kind of came out, the voice actor for Spider-Man, for Peter, Hudson Thames, how the heck you're supposed to say that? I know in England, the actual river is the Thames or whatever. So maybe that's how you pronounce the surname. He said, while being interviewed, what it was like what was it like having a chance for a fresh take on Spider-Man in a world featuring characters never before seen in the MCU? I thought it was awesome. I mean, my biggest fear was that it was going to be annoying and woke, and it wasn't. And I was like, yeah, this is great. It's so well written. Like, it feels real. I'm the oldest of 5 boys, so I feel like I kind of know what's happening in their lives and in high school, and it felt like I was doing that justice. And the internet lost its god dang mind over nothing again, in my opinion. So, what do you guys think about like the controversy itself? Have you heard anything? You know what people have said?
No, I have not heard of this, but it is really funny.
I saw the line, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny. I will get around to it eventually."
Like, imagine being cast as Spider-Man and your first thought being, "Oh no, I'm gonna be woke Spider-Man." Like, that's Spider-Man. Do you know who you're talking about?
So the reason he was saying stuff like that is because, there's a lot of race lifting being done, characters changing genders and stuff like that, which has already been done in the MCU, which I still have issues with. But, as far as like applying that to a show based off of it, I still get it. I don't like it. I mean, for instance, Norman and Harry are both African American. Dr. Connors is now a female scientist. I don't remember which ethnicity she is, but it's not white. There's a couple other things like that. So this is kind of a reimagining of the mythos, so I'm okay a little bit. If like you're giving a direct adaptation, I get really angry when you switch things like that needlessly. So I think that's kind of the point he was making. And really, what I find just stupid is people just reacting like he's suddenly some racist now, or like he hates anyone because he used the term woke. And I can almost guarantee you, I would be willing to put money on this, TJ's money up front, that Disney told him to say what he said. Yeah, that Chipotle money that makes TJ a rich man, that he can afford the brunt of what's about to happen here with my words, like that they told him to say that because they knew there would be that more conservative audience that would be afraid of it being woke. And like the word woke has lost all meaning, unfortunately, because it used to mean something, but now the wrong people kept talking about it and it's all over the place. Mm-hmm. So that's my feelings on the matter. You guys have anything else you want to add there?
No, I like how Disney does tend to use Spider-Man as kind of like surrogate mouthpieces. Like when they sent Tom Holland the Endgame poster early, or the Infinity War poster early, because they knew he would leak it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe they would tell him to say woke.
I would also say that given that it is a multiverse situation, the fact that they did make changes to some characters is actually rather fitting that they do make some changes that people may not necessarily like, because it is a alternate universe. It's supposed to be different in some ways. And that's a way they can make a change. I'm
fine with that in like an alternate reality setting. But like if you're making it, which this show is not, let me preface it with that. If you're making a direct adaptation, you should stick with who people are and what they are. But for this show, it makes perfect sense. We can do whatever the heck we want with it. So I'm not that angry. I don't think the show is woke in that regard. Okay.
At least there were.
Well, that's it for your friendly. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say a bad Star Wars acolyte joke.
Consider subscribing on YouTube, where you can get some other stuff. You get exclusive series like our comic book catch-up, Manga Mustard, Drinks with Tejas, and a companion series we do each year to go with our annual theme. You also get access to Friday Night Frights and Wednesday Night Weeaboo and Spidey Swing Bys with Christian Ashley. You get access to other exclusive shorts like what I'm going to be doing soon are non-canon, where I'm going to be reviewing different IPs that are outside of canon from our favorite fandoms or the Bible and discussing whether or not it should be canon. You also can get a short of Will's Wednesday pull list. So if you're into comic books, Will goes through his favorites of each week's pull list for himself. You also get other bonuses over there. Most of our surprise content we'll put straight to YouTube going live over there that you can check out. And a lot of our regular episodes are also posted on YouTube if you just want to see our smiling faces.
Okay. Well, speaking of bad things, no, just really.
Let me do it. All right, it's time to talk about. This is my favorite part of every show I do with Christian, which is the part where I talk about something he doesn't like.
No, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just know it gets under your skin. It's not a 10 out of 10.
I mean, I don't think it's a 10.
Oh, but by the way, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man 9.5 out of 10. Continue, TJ. It's your show.
Solo leveling. It's fantastic. It's not deep. Get over yourself. It's just cool. That's the whole point. It's cool.
So for those of us who don't know what it is, what is solo leveling about?
I'm glad you asked. So solo leveling is kind of what it sounds like. It is not quite an isekai anime. It's sort of an inversion of that. And we follow our main character, Sung Jin-woo, and this is adapted from a webtoon. So it's Korean.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But that's why his name is Sung Jin-woo. There's a funny bit going around for a little while of people asking solo leveling fans to name 3 characters that aren't Sung Jin-woo. I think most of the
weird.
difficulty.
It's almost like that's a problem.
No, it's not, because the series is called Solo Leveling, not group
With
leveling,
other characters.
not we're all leveling. It's Solo Leveling.
Who have names but no like character to them. Go ahead.
Either way, this show's about the main character. That's the whole point. That's why it's called that. But his shadows are characters. The solo character, yes.
Yeah.
But it's Sung Jin-woo is a hunter, and in this world, they're dungeons, sort of like an RPG, and groups of powered people, as I like to call them, go into those dungeons, take care of it, and close it so that the dungeon doesn't break and wreak havoc on the regular world. So not everyone has powers. It's sort of like a My Hero situation, but not quite.
Much smaller.
Yeah, much smaller scale, and many fewer people have the powers.
Yes.
So Sung Jin-woo, D-rank hunter, gets into a dungeon just trying to make a little money to help his family, and he awakens, so they think, and becomes I think he becomes like C rank right out of the gate, but he discovers that his ability lets him level up. So he's like the only
something no one else has access to.
Yeah.
Sorry, TJ.
Yeah, so it's like the opposite of an isekai. He's the only one playing the game in the real world. So you see him grow, and he's got his own little side stuff. And the reason it's here is because just now we got to what I would consider the conclusion of the first big arc in solo leveling, which is, if you don't want to get spoiled, just go watch the show. And then come back and listen to the rest of this. But we finally got to the point where Sung Jin-woo gets through his personal quest to cure his mother. She has eternal sleep syndrome, I want to say they call it. But it's where people with no magic resistance get overwhelmed by magic and fall into a coma permanently. So he goes through this huge big thing, and the whole reason he wanted to level up was to help his mom. So he does this quest, clears a 100 level dungeon, which is sort of hell, but not really. Like, one of those generic video game hells. And we finally get to see him beat that, get the elixir of life, give it to his mom. Mom comes back, and we're just about to start where I consider the show to get next level. Up to this point, I would say it's like an 8.5 out of 10. From here on out, it's a 9 for me. Because the series is about cool stuff. It's just cool stuff
can't wait
happening.
for the Chimera Ant arc.
Yeah. It's great in Hunter x Hunter, and it's great in solo leveling.
And that's not a criticism. Like, I just think it's very on the nose. But, like, be honest about where your inspirations came from. And solo leveling is very honest about where that inspiration came from.
Oh, yep. So it's right on the nose.
Making fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's shameless. And I love it. It's fantastic. I think if you're somebody who just really enjoys good fight scenes and pretty animation, solo leveling is the show for you. And Aura.
I'll agree with TJ. Fight scenes are well animated. I'm a couple episodes behind, but we both read through the full manhwa. Really good stuff initially with our main character learning stuff. After that, it just becomes a power fantasy. And there's nothing inherently wrong with a power fantasy. I'm not against the idea. It's just when only one character matters and the rest are kind of just props for him to go on, and the story doesn't matter as much, I get a little miffed. But right now, this is one of the best parts. We're getting to one of the best arcs as these episodes are coming out. Overall, give the show a 7 out of 10. TJ, tell me why I'm wrong.
I think it's a 9. I think it deserves a 9. Surely because it goes so above and beyond in the aura farming, cool combat, great animation, all of that stuff it excels at. That is all phenomenal to me. I still think the story is pretty good. I think it's interesting. It's fun to watch. It's nothing groundbreaking. Like it's not Monster. You're not reading Vagabond. It's Solo Leveling. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But I do think it's a 9 out of 10, and I think most people should watch it.
Okay. Kevin, Herbie, you got any questions for TJ and I?
How long are the episodes?
23 minutes.
It's
Okay,
yeah,
good.
If
So
it's
that-
standard.
if you
And where do we find said episodes?
Crunchyroll. You should never pirate anything ever.
I certainly don't.
I would never. Yeah. But they're like 18 minutes if you just watch the content. Like you skip the intro, outro, recap, and
I was going to say, how much is the fighting?
a lot.
Do you have like
That's a
3
lot.
episodes of one guy screaming trying to level up?
No.
Not quite. Not in the same way. It's not that type of battle shonen.
No, it's the kind of battle shonen where he just knows he's stronger, or he's just not gonna put off the effort. He's too nonchalant for that.
Nice.
Like he'll
At this
think
point,
he'll think to himself, he's like, "Oh, I might die here," and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
So there's this little thing called tension that doesn't exist in the story. So that's fine.
That's not true. I do disagree with that.
I would say for the most part. There are certain portions where the tension is there, especially early on.
And I would say especially like towards like before the climax of the story, what I consider the climax of the story. But we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah. Hasn't been released yet as far as the anime is concerned, but as you can't go wrong watching it. I mean, it's not going to be, like you said, it's not going to be Monster as far as like quality of story and pacing and characterization, but it's really good. You can't go wrong watching it.
Yeah, it's a good time.
All right. It's time for someone else to take control. And that, of course, is Evan, as he's going to discuss Cobra Kai, the newest 6th season?
6th season, final season, yes.
Final season. Take it away.
Well, Cobra Kai, it was a YouTube exclusive show, a streaming show when they were trying that for a while. I forget when that came out, 2016, 2017 probably. And there's been 6 seasons that, to me, they've been high and low, and it definitely preys on the nostalgia of a certain age for sure. So because I try to get my sister to watch it, and she's only 6 years younger than me, and she's like, no, this is not working for me. I'm like, all right, that's fair.
You should tell her to go out and wax on and wax off before she goes and watches it.
Swoosh right over her head. But for me, I was hooked since the beginning. I liked the kind of soap opera kind of quality to it, almost like, oh no, she said that or something like that, and just the lower quality, quote unquote. It's not like your Metropolis or something like that, or it's just a bunch of kids that get into fights, and sometimes adults they will get into fights too. And this last season, I loved it. I did not like the little fake out where they gave us half the season and then they gave us a quarter season, and then, oh wait, there's 3 more episodes that you would have to wait for. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, come on.
The Attack on Titan approach.
Yeah. I was just like, nah, that's caca. I don't like that. So, but hey, I still watched, and man, it hit me. It was just like, I want to say 10 out of 10, but because I know that's just all the nostalgia, but it just, like, the way that it took the themes of you are learning that your world is not so black and white anymore, and the way you treat people is how, like, you want to learn how to treat others by building a relationship with them, and then if you want to see them change, you would have to be that change in them. And there's so many moments in this show I was like, oh, okay, I got a clearer version of what this term that keeps going around of being meta modern, and like holding the similar beliefs but in a different way, and the themes of like growing from your mistakes and the parental mistakes affecting you, and trying to live your life, not expecting them to say I'm sorry or things to be fixed, but just for the hope that that might happen. And then and in this case it did happen, and it was a very beautiful moment between two men. Very beautiful moment that was a puddle. And the fighting was it had its moments of like, oh come on, or oh that was amazing, what a hit. And the younger characters, they didn't feel like it was that they played a service to the older characters. They also had their own storyline. However, there were so many of those younger characters that I wished some got more storylines kind of fleshed out, but I can appreciate the storylines that they did bring in and they fleshed out, and a lot of tears, a lot of happy tears in the finale. But Cobra Kai season 6, the final season, really, really liked it. I don't know if you guys saw it, or what's your relationship with the Karate Kid?
Yeah, we have a comment from Josh Knoll. He actually said, "I am the original Karate Kid."
Oh,
yeah.
So
So that's my relation.
Yeah, there's a lot of shilling for TJ in the comments, but it's TJ, so I'm going to let it slide.
Yeah. He also does agree with me. He said Solo Leveling is called that for a reason. Sung Jin-woo is the only character we need to care about. But
his comment literally says hashtag Team TJ. So I don't know if he said that.
Oh, he texted it to me.
You know what? Fine. You're a trusted source.
Yeah, but actually, I didn't know that Cobra Kai was still going.
Sure.
And I didn't know it was so effective.
I didn't know it was 6 seasons. I thought it was like maybe 3rd season at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need to get back into that.
Mm-hmm. The 3rd and the 4th seasons were, to me, they were hard sit-throughs. They were like, what are these characters doing? Why am I watching this?
Okay, so skip 3 and 4.
Yeah, but 1, 2, 5, and 6, they were great TV, fun, campy TV, but
also nostalgia is nice.
What's that?
I can't.
Yeah.
Also, nostalgia is nice.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't wait for them to remake Cobra Kai in like 15 years.
That is
the same way they did Karate Kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. It's meta modernism.
I'm a fan of the movies. 1, 2, and 3 are pretty solid. 3, not as much as 1 and 2, but they're pretty solid films. I mean, you get enjoyable time there. If you want to hear a good review of the show, and there may be some potential Systematic Geekology hosts on new episodes, check out Kung Fu Pizza Party by Brandon Knight. As he has already covered the first film and may have more of us there later on. Hint, as we talk about sequels. In preparation for the new movie, which is spinning off of Cobra Kai and the other films, as well as the remake, which had Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan in the role of our master and student there. I have not watched those films yet, so I'm very interested to see where things go from here. I haven't watched Cobra Kai because I'm still kind of fairly new to the Karate Kid as a whole. But for it to have lasted 6 seasons, gone from YouTube to Netflix, and have such a huge fan following tells me they're doing something well. Especially, I was just kind of looking at TV tropes over just different characters that were also in the movies and the show, and I'm like, oh, well, they call back to her, they call back to him. Like, okay,
man,
this sounds like something that cares about. Yeah, something that cares about what came before, as opposed to some certain Star Wars sequels. But you know what? That's fine.
They did the Legacy sequel perfectly. Like, this is the textbook how you pay homage to what came before, but still create something new that's not so weak or just trying to put together some puzzle pieces.
Yeah. Did you say you haven't seen the Karate Kid remake?
I have not seen a remake. No.
The Will Smith one? Yeah.
You should watch
it. I didn't even realize it was a remake. So,
well, sort of. It's like a spiritual successor, sort like.
I'm curious to see how.
I think it's a good movie, though.
The new one will, because they have elements of the original plus that. So I think they're going to bring it all together, which is cool.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate what they're doing. And we, once again, without actually having watched the remakes that are not actually a remake now, and Cobra Kai itself, like the way that they care about what came before, the way that they call back to certain things that, as I understand it, seem to be done really well. And do you agree with that? Okay.
Very much so. Yeah.
I'm all for that. This is what happens when you actually care about your source material. So, like, a rating and reviewing, like, maybe just the 6th season first, and like as a whole, Cobra Kai. What do you think out of 10?
The 6th season, 10, because they kicked off right where the last season did, and they didn't. Other than the pause with the episode dropping, is good. And then the whole season, probably I would say a solid 8.9. Those 2 seasons, to me, they don't drop it down too much, but because they do pay off some of that, it just wasn't for me. So I guess it was, because it was more focused on the younger storyline. So that's probably just my bias.
Fair enough. You guys have anything else you want to add before we go to our next topic? Okay. That, of course, being the newest season of Invincible, season 3. Who's watching it? Who hasn't seen it?
I'm on episode 3
of season 3.
Yes.
Okay.
I might be one episode behind.
Okay.
Let me check. But
Evan?
I have not seen it.
Okay. Have you seen the first 2 seasons at all?
I have not. I didn't know there were 2 seasons. I want to see it because the memes that come out of that show are amazing. And like, they are like super deep. So I'm like, oh, I got to check this out.
Did you say a meme super deep?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Memes are like onions. They have levels.
That's true.
Honestly, I think they came out of the gate running on the 3rd season. Like, they're continuing as though there was no gap between this season and the last one for them to do the production work. It's just, they're just running with the story.
Yeah, I've been super impressed this season.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Invincible, we've covered it on the show before, but first time you're on, first time you've heard about Invincible, this is based off of a comic series that was done by Robert Kirkman, who's the same guy who did The Walking Dead. It starts off as your typical kind of superhero kind of land. You got your Marvel and DC. You know enough to start off with Invincible, where superheroes are around, supervillains are around, supervillains fight superheroes. And Mark Grayson, our main character, is the son of Omni-Man, who is essentially like the Superman of this world, super strong, super fast, and just really kind of one of the heroes everyone looks up to. And come to find out, his dad's an alien. And Mark himself, after a couple of years, has actually developed powers of his own. So he takes on this hero named Invincible, which everyone mocks because he's very much not. As time goes on, he leaves many of these episodes bloody and bruised, which I should probably say. Probably not the best for smaller children. If they're more mature, let them see it. But for those who are able to handle such subject matters, we've got some darker themes that come up because this is a deconstruction and a reconstruction of superhero comics. This isn't The Boys, which is just a deconstruction, and in my opinion is one of the worst things ever made. But this actually goes beyond that. Instead of saying, oh man, it's kind of weird that people would dress up in costumes and fight each other and actually care about the lives of other people. This brings that up, and it goes, well, why would someone want to do that? What makes a hero? What makes someone decide to do this crazy thing of putting their life on the line in the same way that a fireman would, or a police officer would, or so on, so forth. And I think it explores it really well, as Mark eventually finds out that his dad's not everything he said he was, and is actually the precursor to an invasion of the Viltrumite people, their alien race that Mark is now half human, half Viltrumite. And now we've been left with the fight that they had. The Omni-Man is now in prison with Alan the alien. Love that man. As they kind of are learning to team up together and learning that Nolan Omni-Man, kind of actually liked being a hero, kind of actually loved his family, as well as all the superhero shenanigans that are going on. Like, anything you guys want to add about what you've seen so far for season 3?
I will say you did not seem to give an understatement with it not being suitable for children. One of the biggest criticisms I have of the show is the amount of blood and gore they have. It is needlessly over the top.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you're a little more squeamish on those matters, I would definitely say to stay away. But yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, I think this might be the only good property that at its at least onset was, what if Superman was evil?
We've had quite enough of those.
Yeah, it's almost become a trope, like a well that is kind of spoiled almost. But I'm glad to hear that this episode
also
is kicking ass.
Also, it's not what is if he's evil, but what if he's not entirely evil?
Yeah. What if I miss my wife?
Yes.
rather than the trope of we turn Superman evil, it's what happens if he was evil and we turn him good?
Yeah.
And he's not there yet. And yeah, I've read enough of the comics. I haven't read everything to know where certain things are going. So certain things are going to be surprises to me as time goes on, with certain characters and their motivations and how things go and who's going to live, who's going to die. I'm ready to see what else they have here, because I think they're doing a phenomenal job here, because there's also a rewriting of certain things because they were written in a different time in the 2000s. You know, Kirkman's become a better writer since then. He's got another team working with him to enhance the writing that came before. This is a really solid show. If you got the chance, that, like, how many episodes a season? Like 8-ish per season,
8, yeah.
Which about 45 minutes long. So that is still a time sink. I'd recommend you guys check it out. But one of the things that they bring up multiple times over is kind of the idea of, when it's not just unusual and Invincible, same thing happens in Marvel and DC, is that do superheroes kind of create more problems than they solve? We have multiple times in this season alone where Marcus Invincible goes up against some bad guys who are just down on their luck, and it went to supervillainy instead to get their stuff. And then in our most recent episode, not to give too much away for those who haven't seen it, we have someone who watched the rampage that Omni-Man and Invincible went through and lost family in the process, and now has become someone calling him out, like, why didn't you save us? Well, are you really a hero? What do you guys think on that idea?
It's so good. That episode was phenomenal. Aaron Paul killed it. They spent way too much money hiring him for the role. The animation could have looked a little better. But it was worth it. That's how good he was, is what I mean. But like, as a concept, I do think it's really interesting, mostly to think about how an insurance claim would work in this universe. Because I know it would suck. It would be awful. Like, you try to tell your car insurance that Spider-Man picked your car up and threw it at Crocodile.
Oh, they would give us a premium already for it. So.
Yeah, it would.
They would have that built in. Yeah,
and then they would be like, "Well, we tried reaching out, but we couldn't get him. We can't prove that he threw your car. It just did that. Claim denied.
It just magically flew into the building.
Yeah,
nobody saw it.
Yeah, you were in a no parking zone. The no parking is because it makes cars just do that sometimes."
I definitely think that with the nature of what's going on in Invincible is you do have the superheroes, and if you have the supervillains and they create this big fight, then yeah, but they're also having to fight something outside of Earth, which is causing the need for people who are stronger. And I think that's where the entire argument, are they creating more trouble than they're worth, starts to fall apart, because Invincible from the very beginning showed that there were these things that only these heroes could fight.
Yeah. And it's like, you could say that they might cause more property damage than they fix. That's probably true for most heroes. But they definitely save the world more often than they end it.
Well, we'd have to look at all the multiverse for that.
But the heroes specifically.
And there's some nice things played with that concept too, because we have, I think it's second season, where Adam Eve is just like told by some people, hey, like, we want a playground here. We want stuff built on this land, and the government's not letting us do it. She's like, well, I have the ability to, like, just do whatever. And if I don't actually think about my powers well, I should really be the most strongest person there, but that's another issue. And she just makes the playground for them, and only to learn that the reason the city didn't want there to be something on that site is that there was a zoning issue. There was an issue with the ground underneath that it collapsed, and then
It
bunch
wasn't
of kids
a
died.
playground. It was an entire apartment building.
Park. Oh, wait,
Apartment. It was a building, living quarters. It was people's homes.
Maybe I must be mixing something up. So thank you for correcting me. Yeah, and a bunch of people died. And now in this season, she's gone to school so that she can learn how to actually build things correctly instead of just saying, I'm going to solve everything with my powers. Like, I actually need to think about these things. I need to know how physics works. I need to know how engineering works, architecture, everything involved with that. So I really appreciate what we're doing with her. And in regards to the initial question, it's like, you can tell how someone has never actually read a Batman comic with, how they treat his characters. Be like, well, why didn't he just fix a city with his money? Well, his parents tried to do that and they got murdered for it. It's a lot more effective for him to dress up as a bat and beat super criminals in the face and stop mobsters, because trying to do things the regular way ended up with them being killed.
It's true.
And murdered.
I'm just saying, I've spent money to fix issues and failed before. I've never failed if I dressed up as a giant bat.
Now, they also address some other moral concerns. Like, I'm really early in the season now, but they're dealing with the concerns of, so this person was a murderer, but they can still do good. They are able to be reformed. Do you work with them and reform them? Or do you say, no, once a murderer, always a murderer, even though you yourself were a horrible person at some point in your life? Do you allow for them to be rehabilitated and become a hero?
Yeah, I do think it's really interesting. They put us on the opposing side of that argument. Like, they want us to say rehabilitation is bad because that's what Invincible thinks.
Yeah, the conflict between him and Cecil is extremely well done this season. The amount of flame wars it started alone, at least on Reddit, is astounding. But then again, that's the internet for you.
The memes it makes are like, because I've never seen the show, but the memes that come across my feed, I get it. I'm like, oh, everything that you guys are saying is cool.
Cecil's line, I realized that I could either save the world or I could be the hero, but I can't do both. It's like, yeah.
Follow line. And I know there's some people, other hosts on the show, who are very against the idea of, utilitarianism and the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few. But I lean more on that side. I'm more for what can be done to bring more people to safety. And yeah, I still find it morally reprehensible that some of the villains that Cecil, initially killed early on in that flashback were brainwashed into being heroes. There's a huge issue there. There's a huge issue with having corpses around and now with robotic bodies that can attack people. But if they save someone's life, is it worth the process? No, we had Darkwing 2, who is essentially our Batman Light in this universe, and he murdered people to protect his city, and now he's been given another chance. Does he deserve that chance? Of course not. But is he going to do something good with that second chance? And I think that's a risk we kind of have to take at times.
Yeah.
And I think Invincible does a really good job with that.
Yeah,
it also brings the question, can a person become a better person? A person who has been evil in the past, can they really become good? And I'm early in the season, but it's very clear that Invincible thinks, no, you can't. Once you've crossed that line, you can't come back.
Yeah. I think it's really funny that we get Mark talking to Cecil, and he's like, Darkwing's a murderer. Like, dude.
So are you.
You kill people.
So are He even says, you're a hypocrite. You created all this chaos. You're trying to fly off and save your murderer of a dad, and yet you can't deal with this guy.
I think that's a huge part of this too, is like the inherent hypocrisy in some of what Mark is doing. Is like, we shouldn't want murderers to be running around free or anything. There should be due process and justice, but you're also living in a world where it'd be a lot better if that person who had murdered those people was now helping other people live instead. And if there's a way to do that, not the most ethical way to do so, but there's a way to do it in universe, especially knowing that there's a Viltrumite invasion coming your way, and Mark is your best shot at that, and he's still not strong enough yet, and you don't know that there's only 50 left in the entire empire at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to make some calls that other people looking in hindsight are going to say, oh no, that was an evil action. Well, I can't blame him too much. Like, I love Cecil, I'm not 100% behind everything he does, but I get it.
Yeah, Cecil's so funny, too. Like, Cecil's hilarious. What do you mean you thought you could beat Mark? Mark kills like 30 reanimin. Cecil's like, oh, I have so many more. He's gonna kill them too, obviously. What?
Well, yeah, but he also had the whole like earplug thing that just decimates Invincible.
Solved it.
Which is also something that's brought up too, is, well, do you have deterrents in case someone flips? Because he didn't have a deterrent for Omni-Man, and look what happened.
Well, he didn't think he would need it. He trusted Omni-Man. He learned a lesson.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's morally reprehensible to put something in a sonic emitter or whatever inside of someone via surgery that makes them unable to move around. But if Invincible ever goes dark, you kind of need something to stop him because he's your number one guy.
Yeah, but they fixed that problem anyway.
In episode 3, it really looks like he's going dark. Like, he is not only uncontrollable, but he is going on the attack.
Go ahead, TJ.
No, that's it. I mean, they just Mark and Robot solved that problem, and Cecil still wanted to talk big. That was what was funny to me. I was like, dude, you lost already. You lost. Teleport home.
I don't believe Robot solved that problem for a moment. He's too much of a opportunist.
I don't want to talk about
that. All I'm going to point out is that Cecil is going to be looking at everything that has hurt Mark. And he had just the episode before been stabbed by these creatures from deep in the earth. I'm pretty sure Cecil had something else on top of that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people complained about that because we start off with like a montage scene of him becoming stronger and being more durable. And then the moment some underground subterranean centipedes attack Mark, he's suddenly not as strong as he used to be. For the sake of the plot, it's whatever. It's comics. It's what happens. Sometimes Superman takes damage he's not supposed to take because you need it for the sake of the story. I don't like it, but that's what's done.
Yeah. If you didn't like that, you're really not going to like the Viltrumite War.
But they've already pointed out where there are things that can hurt a Viltrumite. So you just never know if it might be something in the middle of the earth, which is kind of weird that something would be living in the magma of the earth. But there could still be more things on earth that can harm a Viltrumite.
Yeah. Okay. So, Evan, what are you thinking? Does it sound compelling at all?
Yes. And I definitely want to watch it now. Even more.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You should.
Perfect.
My
if you
question
handle
is,
the blood and the gore.
Okay, yes, I was thinking about that. I love the gore. I don't mind it. But when there's like the broken bones and stuff, that gets me.
A lot.
Really? Oh, boy.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some scenes you may want to skip over.
Okay. All right.
There's scenes where people get completely torn asunder. Like,
first episode, there's some brutality.
Okay.
Someone was paying a little too much Mortal Kombat for their own good.
Got it.
With the blood code.
Duly noted with the blood code.
Okay.
On the Sega.
Yeah. So, for the three of us that's watched it, what do you think out of 10? What are we ranking it?
A lot.
This season.
I don't want to say 10.
I don't want to rate the season since I haven't watched it all. But overall, as a series, I'll give it an 8. If it wasn't for how above and beyond they go with the gore, I'd probably be giving it a 10.
Okay.
But I do have to give some harsh marks on that criticism.
Fair.
Yeah. I don't know if I can give it a 10. I could definitely give it a 9.5. It is, I think it's better than the comic book wholesale at this point. They're making it a point to try and make that happen. And it also makes it exciting for us to watch as people who read the comic book. Well, I finished it. Christian read enough of it.
Yeah.
But I'm still having a great time because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd say so far I'd probably give this season like an 8.5 out of 10. Overall, from everything that I know, I'd probably give a 9 out of 10 as an overview of Invincible. Like, there's some solid stuff here. There's definitely some stuff, if you're more squeamish about such matters, you're not big on blood and gore and some more heavier subject matter that's discussed, avoid. It's not your fault. Go find something else that'll make you happier. But if you can get through it like I can, go for it. All right. Well, with that, we've got our 4 topics done. And that means we come to the recommendation section. Out of these 4 topics, which one would you say is your top recommendation?
Invincible.
Okay, Evan?
I'm going Cobra Kai, man. Going all the way.
Okay.
Going all the way. Show no mercy.
Yeah. I'm throwing out Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's way too short. There should have been more episodes, but that's unfortunately modern TV these days.
Right.
We can't have 20 episode seasons. I completely and utterly agree. There's too long of a wait between seasons, and then it's only for 10 or so episodes.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me, man?
And then they all come out at once, and you binge them all and finish them in a day. So then you got to wait till next year and watch 10 more episodes in one day.
Yeah, and you know how much of a commitment that is? Like Squid Game Season 2 or Squid Game 2. I'm like, yeah, I'll just watch them all at once. Spend 8 hours watching Squid Game 2, and it ends on a cliffhanger?
A big cliffhanger, too. Like not one that you can just be like, oh, I'm just not going to watch it. I'm like, no, it's a good one.
That's going to be like a 2-3 year wait or whatever. Yeah. Like Stranger Things alone. Like I'm so excited for the new season, but it's also been however long since the last one. Like I'm going to need a refresher.
Don't get me started.
It sounds like somebody needs to have a binge watching party for the first 4 seasons of Stranger Things, so that when the new season comes out, we're not depending on 3 or 4 year old memories.
That's what Wikipedia is for.
And nobody cares about Wikipedia.
I do, because it helps me remember things because I'm old. All right. So thank you guys for coming today. Thank you for the one person in the comments who left comments. Yeah, he's okay, I guess. I guess we should give a shout out to Joshua Noli. If you guys do want to do that, we really do appreciate it. I was just saying what I said because it's him. We love feedback from you guys. We love putting your messages up on this YouTube page. If you listen to the podcast, you want to be here live, head over to Systematic Geekology YouTube, subscribe there. Be a great chance for you to interact with us. Throw questions our way of what we thought about certain things. We'd love to do that as well. I'd like to help like to shout out some people who sponsor our show. Thank you, Ethan Overcash, Austin Nance, Amber Riley, Jonathan Augustine. You guys are the best. But remember, we're all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
Hi, my name is TJ Blackwell, also known as Tejas, Tiberius Wan, Tejas Jackson, Kung Fu Dugong recently. I go by many, many names, and I came here today to ask you to please check out our YouTube channel. There are a bunch of exclusive series there, like Comic Book Catch-Up, Manga Mustard, Drinks with Tejas, which is my personal favorite, the one where I get to talk to other people about their favorite drinks or just drinks in general. We have a companion series to our annual theme on YouTube. We do Friday Night Frights, Wednesday Night Weeaboo. Those are both ran by Christian Ashley. He's great. Check him out. There are exclusive shorts, which are pretty new. Christian reviews. He's going to review every Spider-Man comic one at a time, which is insane. Non-canon, which is where Joshua will be reviewing one IP from outside of canon in his favorite fandoms, or a piece of literature that is part of the biblical extra canonical material, which is a super interesting short series. Will's Wednesday pull list, where he talks about his comic book pull list each week. He picks a top comic for his weeklies, and there are other surprise bonus content. It goes straight to YouTube, and many of our regular podcast episodes get posted there as well, because we like to see each other when we talk, and we don't want to rob you of that ability. So check us out, subscribe. We would appreciate it so much, and it helps us a ton. Thank you.
Be sure to check out other Anazal Ministry Podcast AMP Network shows. You can see the whole network in a single feed if you're on Spotify, or you could go to Apple Podcasts and find the Anazal Ministries Network podcast, the AMP Network. Yeah, there's just a network on Apple. You can follow the whole thing. You'll get shows like The Homily, where Pastor Will goes through his homily messages. It's literally just Pastor Will's sermons, guys. It's great. You also get access to the Whole Church podcast, where TJ and myself interview leaders from across different denominations and backgrounds to work towards a more full church unity. You can see My Seminary Life, where Brandon Knight discusses his experiences at seminary and then discusses seminary topics, so anyone can have access to knowledge available to seminary students. You also can see Let Nothing Move You over there, where Christian Ashley goes through the Bible in a Bible study type fashion and explains the whole biblical narrative. I also have a show on there, The Dummy for Theology, where we discuss various theological topics in an attempt to show every side of the discussions, leaving you with more questions than answers. There's also The Bible After Hours, where the foul-mouthed preacher goes through the Bible from a more progressive view to challenge the status quo of the modern church. Finally, you can hear The Clydes, where Taylor and Elizabeth Clyde go through weekly discussions in a devotional conversational style method to help us all get closer to one another and to God.